So before we get started, why is 5,000 such an important number? Really, all $5,000 says is that you've made $5,000, and the requirement to get your IATA card is if you've made $5,000 in commissionable sales, and it's not gross sales, so it's you've grossed commission sales to yourself, individual or your business, that you are then eligible to get your IATA card. And this IATA card is similar to your CLIA card. Gets you some perks, some additional perks, access to information, access to, not really information, but access to travel perks and that kind of stuff. And like I said, it's the gold standard for travel professionals to demonstrate that you truly are able to sell, market yourself and sell travel. So, you know, how many of you out there who are listening right now, if you're listening in the replay, I'd like you to answer as well, but if you're listening live, tell me how many of you out there have heard of IATA, want to get your IATA card, want to qualify to get your IATA card? Put a 1 in the comments and let me know. If you don't care one or the other, put a 0, right? Because that 5,000 is the requirement, and IATA is sort of the thing that people want to aspire to. So if you don't know what IATA is, that's okay. But we're still going to talk about why it's important for you to be striving for at least a goal. And if 5K in commissions is your goal this year, let's strive for that. If it's 20K, frankly, I don't give a shit what your goal is, right? The only thing that I ask is that you have a goal. So let's get to it. But before we get to it, let me introduce myself. I am Sunday Gardner, the online travel boss. I come to you every Wednesday evening talking all things travel, launching, operating, and the mindset of a successful, profitable travel business. Now, normally I come to you live in Texas at my office with my amazing lights, but I am in Georgia for the next 3 weeks. So for the next 3 weeks, I will be showing up here in Georgia, and I'll have different backgrounds because I think I'm going to try and go outside. It's actually kind of humid, so I didn't want to try that. I didn't have my laptop and all that set up, so I'm doing a little bit something different. So anywho, that's who I am. And so today what we're going to talk about is, I wrote it down. Let me get my notes. So I am not off base today. So what we're going to really focus on is, what is the mindset shift that you need to make in your business if you are going from 0 commission sales to 5,000, if that's your goal, 20,000, 30,000 this year, whatever your revenue stream is that you want to go. What is the mind shift that you need to do? What do you have to have in place in order to make that happen? Is that something that you guys are interested in? Let me know in the comments, because you know how much I love to interact with you all while we're doing this. Okay, so let me know in the comments if you are interested in the mind shift that you need to make. And so I'm not going to go because there's some people on and I want to get some interaction with you guys. How are you guys feeling about this topic? How do you feel about your ability to hit your goal, whatever that may be, in commission sales this year? Frankly, what are your goals in commission sales? Do you even have goals? Like, do you know how much revenue you would like to make in your business? And for those who are new to the business, there are a couple of ways that you can make revenue. So let's start with that. Main revenue stream of income for travel professionals are commission sales, right? So you make commission from travel suppliers, right? You split that with your host agency. If you're independent, you're getting that all to yourself. Another way to make revenue in the business, which is not as common, it's certainly something that I continue to push regularly, but you make it through service revenue, right? So you charge on the front end for doing quotes, designing trips for your clients. You charge fees for airline trips, whatever you charge, you also make service revenue in your business. Now, I'm just going to talk about those two things today because I've already done a training. And if you're interested in the different ways and the different suggestions that I have for making revenue stream in your business, I'd encourage you to search for that video in our inside of our group. So let me know in the comments again, who's interested in learning about how you make revenue. Not how you make, there we go. Now I can see you guys. So, okay, now I can see you. So this is a little choppy. You have to forgive me. Like, I am like a creature. I am an old soul. I am definitely older now. And so I'm used to like a particular rhythm, and I'm totally out of rhythm. I'm out of time zone. I'm out of rhythm. And so I couldn't even see the comments. So now I see them. All right. So yes, you can get your own IATA when you're with a MLM, another host agency. All you have to do is, if you're with the host agency, you can qualify for your own individual IATA membership, but you still have to meet that criteria. So I'm glad I could teach you that little bit of information. So someone says that their goal is 10K, right? So this is good, right? So if it's 5,000, 10,000, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about some tips on how to do that. But before we jump into all of the tips, tip number 1 is to set a goal. What is the goal that you want to go after? If it's 5,000, that's fine. If it's 10,000, that's fine. Identify the goal. And so if you have a goal right now in your mind, no matter how big or how small, I'd like you to type it in the comments, right? I want you to understand what your goal is, your commission goal for the year is, right? And we're already in month 5, right? So you literally have 7 more months in the year to hit this goal. So it's absolutely achievable, right? International. So if you're in America, international countries are opening. Obviously, the Caribbean has been open even during COVID, but you also have France that's opening up. Cruising is opening up in July, if I'm not mistaken. I think France is opening up in May. Was there another country that I heard? But nonetheless, things are starting to open up, particularly if you get your COVID shot. So someone says, I'm new to the game, so I hadn't thought about it. So, Latanya, I want you to just throw out a number. What number do you think, you're new in the game, that you think is a feasible number for you to get? All right, so someone says starting goal for this year is 5,500. So I want you guys to write that down. I want you to say it out loud. You're inside of wherever you are. If you're in your car, if you're in your room, wherever you are, I want you to say your goal out loud. I want you to say it. I want you to bring it into existence, right? Because that's really step number 1 is write it down, say it, look at it every single day, right? Understand what it is that you need to do to get to that goal. But if you don't have a goal, what are you marching to? What are you aiming for, right? Are you just walking blindly, right? So, even if you put some goal out there and you may not hit it, at least you know what you're striving for and you know which way and which direction you're going. So that's always my first step, particularly when it comes to trying to achieve something, is to identify the something it is that I'm trying to achieve, right? So then sort of step 1A out of this is to identify the action plan. And maybe you don't know the action plan, and that's okay too. Identify your first step is figure out what are the steps that I need to do to hit this $5,500 commission goal. What do I need to do to hit $20,000, right? I'm going to give you some very strategic information and tips that you need to know in order to do that. But there may be some other things that you're lacking, right? That you don't know. And that's what you want to make sure that you identify as well when it comes to setting a goal. So number 1 is understand what your goal is and the action plan required for you to achieve that goal. All right. So I'm going to use 20,000, Amanda Griffith's goal. I'm going to use 20,000 as the goal that we're going to use for today's conversation. All right. So number 2 is know the numbers. And so I'm not going to lie. I'm a numbers geek. Like, I'm totally a numbers geek. I want to be known as the person that operates my business, my life, by the numbers. I lead by the numbers. I act by the numbers. I act on the numbers. I know the numbers, and everyone on my team knows the numbers. I'm a numbers person. And so you may be like, okay, well, you just told me to identify the goal. That's all I really need to do, is I just need to know that I'm going after $20,000. No, you need to know some other key numbers, right? So you need to know what the goal is, and then you need to know the following other key numbers that are going to be critical for you to hit your commission goal, right? So the first number that you need to understand is, what is your commission split, right? So you're with the host agency. What is the split that you have? Is it an 80-20 split? Is it a 70-30? Is it a 60-40? Is it 50-50? Some people that I talk to don't even know what the split is. You don't even know how much of the total commission that you will be getting, right? So I'd like to hear what some of your numbers are. What is your commission split with your host agency? How much does your host agency reserve? How much do you reserve when you make a sale? How much? We've got a 70-30 split. So I assume that's you get 70, your host agency gets 30. Anybody got an 80-20 split? Anybody on a 90-10 split? All right, so we got a 70-30 split. That's a common one. I'm not going to call any host agencies' names out in this thing, but I know a lot of you are with one particular host agency and they start out with a 70-30. Someone's got an 80-20 split. That's great. And there are some host agencies that start up as high as 90-10, right? And so that is one of the criteria that I tell you all when selecting a host agency. Understand the financials. What's in it for you, right? Because really, all right, so someone's got a 90-10 split, that's great. So understand what your commission split is, right? So, and that simply means that if a supplier is going to give you, let's say 10%, you're going to split that 10% divided between yourself and the host agency, right? So you need to understand how to determine that split. That's number one metric or goal or number that you need to understand, right? So you need to know what you're after. You need to understand your split. The second thing is how much sales do you need to make in order to hit your goals? So I'm going to do a simple calculation for you. If you want to hit $20,000 in commission, and let's say you work with the vendor, and let's say you are doing 100%. I'm not going to dilute it for you just for numbers and ease sake. Let's say you are going to get 10% commission. In order for you to hit $20,000, you need to sell 200,000. You need to sell $200,000 in gross commissions, right? Does that make sense? So Rosalind, Jaylyn, Michelle, or Arslan will inbox you if you have a question. All right, so the formula is pretty simple. Whatever you want in commission, divide that by your commission rate, and that will tell you how much gross sales you need to achieve in order to get your gross commissions. Does that make sense to everybody? So the formula is simple. The formula is commission goal divided by commission rate. So if it's 10%, you would take $20,000, divide that by 10%, and that's going to get you your gross sales that you need to achieve in order to hit your goal, right? So these are critical numbers for you to understand, right? And then the last critical number that's going to impact your ability for you to make your commission is to understand your average sales price for your trips. Bet you guys didn't think about that either, right? So you're like, what do you mean average sales price, right? So what I'm saying is, if you know that you need to make $200,000 in gross sales for 2021, right? How much are your average trips selling for? All right? Are you selling trips that gross $300, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000? What's your average ticket that you sell to your clients for? And many of you all are probably looking at me like, what? Why? I don't look at that. Client comes to me and they tell me where they want to go, and I go and I quote it, and that's what I do. So I don't think about the average sales price or the average ticket price for how much I sell stuff for. Well, that's a problem. That's the whole reason why you're in this group, is so I can teach you some things that you haven't thought about. And one of those things is, before you even start selling, your commission average, right? So Amanda says her commission average is $250, but how much does that translate into your gross sales. So again, you don't deal in commission when you're talking with your clients, you deal in gross sales, right? Your trip's going to cost $10,000. Your trip is going to cost $2,500, right? Your total trip is going to cost this. Now it's comprised of maybe a resort, air, and all these other things. But what's your average commissionable gross sales that you need to be after in order to hit your goal? And I'm going to give you an example. So when I was selling travel, I specialized in cruise. Cruise line, when I was with the host agency, it averaged, even after the split with my host agency, I got an average of about 10% blended, right? So after they took their split at 20 and I got 80, 16% split it out, ended up averaging about 10% to me. So in order for me to hit my goals, I wanted to have an average gross sales of between $2,000 and $3,500. That means that I was not selling cruise trips less than that amount. Does that make sense? Like, that's what I did. Like, I didn't sell. I wasn't going after. So I don't care what kind of client and what their thing is. My attraction and the type of client I was looking for was somebody who out the gate would not blink at a cruise 5 days, 7 days, whatever, starting price at $2,500 to $3,500 for the trip, because I knew what my average ticket price was that I was selling. So I tried to keep my base at that. I rarely sold below that. I obviously attempted to sell greater than that, but my average ticket price for my trips, my fit trips, were $2,500 to $3,500 per person, right? What's your average ticket price that you want to attract in terms of clients? You need to understand that number because it's critical to your commission number, right? Now, somebody gives me a commission average and they say, okay, well, my commission average is $250. I don't want to make less than $250, right? So the reason why that's important, because then you know how many clients you need to get, right? So if my average ticket is $2,000, right? And I need to make $200,000 this year in gross sales, how many clients do I need to have this year? Right? And then I can start to break that out, right? So the numbers should then lead you on everything that you do. I didn't wait to find clients. And then when I found clients and they were saying they wanted to do a Carnival cruise, for example, and the average, Carnival cruise is between $300 and $500, I wasn't looking for those clients. I didn't put myself in front of those clients because my average ticket sales were $2,000, $2,500 to $3,500. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? The criticality of understanding what your average ticket price is so that you know the type of client you need to go after, so that you aren't wasting your time trying to go after volume when really you need to be going after a particular client type so that you can hit the numbers that you want, right? So average sales price is what you want to understand as a critical number for you in order to hit the number that you want. So for the person who wanted to do 20,000, right? Find out what your commission rate is. So if it's 10%, 15%, 20, blended, right? Whatever, you want to understand what that is. And once you understand that, then you know who you want to work with, right? And then you can pick suppliers accordingly. Right? Like I just gave you an example. Like I know if I specialize in the cruise industry and I want to get an average cruise that's between $2,500 and $3,500, I already know that I'm not selling Carnival. I'm not selling Carnival because I know just sort of how the dynamics of that supplier. And it's not to say that Carnival's not a good supplier, but it's not a good supplier for me to use in order to hit the numbers that I want. Does it make sense, right? So me knowing those numbers allowed me to then select suppliers that are going to allow me to to make it effortlessly capable for me to hit the numbers that I want, right? So I chose Royal Caribbean, right? And then I subsequently chose Celebrity. which is their next tier up, right? Because I knew that the average, their cabins generally went for higher rates, right? Their itineraries were a little bit different, right? And then even from there, I was like, you know what? I don't even want to do main ocean line. I want to go to cruise. I want to go to river cruises, right? So just by me virtue of knowing those numbers allowed me to make different decisions about my suppliers and who I went with, right? And then again, I had to recalculate because those commissions were different, but I knew just based on what the kind of client and the money that I wanted my clients to spend and who I wanted to go after changed who my suppliers were. Hopefully let me know if this is making sense. Let me know in the comments if this is clicking, right? So the number 2 thing after you understand what your goals are is to understand your numbers and then make the correct decisions accordingly, right? So the number 3 thing that you want to do is you want to work with as few suppliers as you possibly can, right? I don't want to work with 50 suppliers. 1, it's exhausting, first of all. 2, you can't leverage that relationship and really start to hone in on the relationship with the supplier if you've diluted who you're working with. If you're working with 10 people, it's hard to, this is not a situation where you want to collect as many business cards as you possibly can, right? You don't want to do that. You want to get as few business cards as you can when it comes to your choice suppliers and really work with a set few, right? Because the more you can drive business to them, the more you're going to be able to negotiate in the future for higher commission rates, even when you're with the host agency. So if you leave that host agency and go independent in the future, and you've only been working, and I'm going to use celebrity as an example, right? You've only been working with this 1 or 2 cruise lines. When you do that and you go off on your own, you can say, look at my sales volume, right? I've consistently booked $200,000, $500,000, $1 million in cruise travel every year consistently for the last several years. So when I come out and I'm independent now, I don't want to hear you talking about me starting at 10%. I've already demonstrated my ability to sell, not only sell, but sell your product. So I deserve a higher commission. Right? So you don't want to lose your ability because again, you may not decide to stay with that host agency forever. You may decide to go independent and you want to leverage your ability to go independent by using a choice supplier. That's one reason to stay with a choice supplier, a few suppliers. Another reason is if any of you were around during the pandemic, some of you are telling me that you're new, so you didn't book. But just imagine, and I've said this so many times during the last year, is just imagine the hell you must have gone through if you were working with 5 or 6 different suppliers, trying to get your clients back into the country, trying to get your clients back home, trying to stay online with different suppliers and dealing with different suppliers' rules and regulations as they're going through this pandemic and trying to figure it out. The more you can isolate who your partners are, the easier it will be for you to operate your business, right? So as you are a newbie, I certainly think it's okay for you to start off with maybe a handful, maybe 5, and then narrow that down to 2 and 3, as you start to get familiar with their processes and as you are deciding to pick. But certainly when it starts to come to consistency, you want to have a very small list of suppliers that you're working with. Okay, so that is number 3, I think we are on. All right. Now, this is where we are going to have a bit of a touchy subject because a lot of you newbies are going to feel uncomfortable with this conversation, but this is why I do it, is so that you can feel comfortable. You can be uncomfortable with me so that you can be comfortable with your prospective clients and your clients, which is your last thing is charge up front. If you want to hit a goal, charge up front. It's going to eliminate the tire kickers in your business. It's going to eliminate people who are going to waste your time, and it's going to attract the right client, believe it or not. If you get someone who is willing to pay your fee, and I'm not talking about your $25 reimbursable fee. So if you're doing that, stop that nonsense. But I'm talking about a fee, right? All of my clients are starting off charging for designing and quoting at least 150 to higher, right? So start there and you will be amazed at the type of client that will not only take advantage of it, right? But the fact that it'll stop wasting your time on everything else that you're doing, okay? All right, so what does that mean, right? So some of you are like, you know, that's crazy. You can't tell me by charging 150 upfront that's going to attract the right person. And the reality is it will. Then the reason why that is because you want to attract people to your business that value your service. And if you don't value your service, why the hell would they value your service? So that usually is a mindset shift that you have to make in order for people to make that in terms of who you're going to attract. If you think it's okay to give away your knowledge, your expertise, your advocacy, your, I could go on with all of the different things that you bring to the table as a professional, right? If you give away that service, right, you immediately devalue your proposition, right? People don't value free. They don't. They say they like free, but they don't value free when it comes to services. They really don't, right? And I've got too many evidence, and you've given me too much evidence as well for me to confirm that statement, which is you've given away your services, you've booked. You haven't booked. You've quoted, you've done the research, you've spent a lot of time painstakingly looking and finding the best combination that would give your client the best fill in the blank experience based on their requirements, and they did not buy, right? So you did all of this work and you didn't get paid for it, right? You didn't value your time, your effort, your expertise, and neither did they. And they took your information, and what did they do with it? They said thank you, and then they booked elsewhere, right? So my tip for you is if you want to hit your numbers, forget IATA. Let's talk about your bottom line, right? Include charging an agency fee, and one of those agency fees should be your design fee for doing quotes for your clients. Does that make sense? All right. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. You guys understand what I'm saying, and I've seen some of the comments, and it looks like you guys are getting it. But here's the deal. Hitting 5,000 literally, at a 10% commission is $50,000 in sales, right? $5,000 to be able to get your commission. Now, granted, you got to make sure that you subtract fees, right? It's probably not taxes included in that. It's really just, room rate if you're dealing with hotels. It's dealing with the cruise industry. It's minus NSFs, right? And NSFs, right? So, you got to make sure you understand what is commissionable with your suppliers. But literally, it's $50,000 in sales. Stop going after $200 sales if you want to make that. You want to make that quickly. Understand what your average ticket price is. Start going after those types of clients. Start attracting those type of clients, right? Start charging a fee. Start collecting fees, collecting revenue up front so that you can stop dealing with tire kickers, right? Right? So how do you do all of that? Like, you probably are like, what? I could charge money up front? No, people don't do that. I got a host agency. I'm seeing the comments you guys are saying, what? I can't do that. I don't know how to do that, right? Well, this is why you're here, right? Is to learn all this great juicy stuff that I'm dropping to you, right? So I'm not going to go into agency fees in this call because I've done a training. You want to search for agency fees, raise your hand, type agency fees, and then one of my client specialists who are on this live right now, which is Jalen, Michelle, and or Arslan, they will tag you, and they will tag you on the agency fee training. So we did a training, I think some months ago. So they will tag you on that. So just type agency fees. They'll reach out to you and they'll talk to you about agency fees and how to do that in the training that I did on that previously. But the reality is really about today is like, are you worth $5,000? Right? So I'm asking you, like, are you worth $5,000? And the answer better be, hell yeah, I'm worth $5,000. I'm not only worth $5,000, I'm worth $20,000. I'm worth $50,000, right? And how do I get there? How do you get there, right? The first thing is you got to believe it yourself. You got to believe that you're worth, and that not only are you worth it, that you command it and you deserve it as the professional that you are. I want you all to think of yourselves as you've decided to launch this business. You decided to embark upon probably one of the most scariest endeavors that you've ever done, that you will ever do in your life. Probably the most challenging endeavor that you will ever do in your life. And the first thing that you have to realize is nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to give you the clients. Nobody's going to give you the sales. Nobody's going to give you the fees. Nobody's going to do that if you don't believe that you're worth it, right? So the first place it starts in order to hit those goals is your mindset. And what do I mean by mindset? You've got to believe that you are worth whatever it is that you're charging. So if you come out the gate charging $500, you absolutely can do it if you believe that you're worth it, right? And you provide an impeccable service that warrants it, right? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to charge $500 for research, whatever you decide to call it up front, and all you're doing is the same thing that they would get when they dial, 1-800-Priceline.com, shame on you, right? But if you're providing a one-of-a-kind service that includes whatever you've defined as part of that service for you, and you know, by golly, that it's worth it, and you've created a package that's worth it, then I say charge it, right? Some of my clients who are in the wedding space, they are charging, and this is not to book a wedding, just in the wedding destination space, depending on size of your group, just for them to quote are charging $750, upwards of $500 to $700 to $1,000 just to do a quote for a wedding, right? That's about know-how. That's about the right mindset. And if you don't have it, then you got to get it, right? So I will also invite you to this one thing. So agency fees, if you want to know about agency fees, one of my client support specialists will reach out to you, send a private message with you, talk about where you are in your space, and also tag you on the training for that. All right. Now, listen, it's, I'm a little out of practice. It's been about 4 weeks since I've done live. I hope that you have found value in today's lesson. I will be back here next week talking all things travel, and launching and marketing a successful travel business. But you know what? Tomorrow is a special day, and I very well may do a pop-up live. Who would be interested in a pop-up live tomorrow? So I'm sort of letting the cat out of the bag. Let me know in the comments, if you'd be interested in a pop-up live. Why is tomorrow special? So if you don't know and you're new to the industry, tomorrow is Travel Advisory Day, right? Travel Advisors Day. What does that mean? That is the day where we celebrate travel agents, travel professionals like you, right? We are an instrumental part of the travel industry, right? We are an incredible resource to suppliers. We are instrumental to this industry, right? And so this is all about the celebration of us, right? And I help train you use the superpower that the host agency is giving you, right? So I want to celebrate you tomorrow. So I don't know what the topic is going to be, right? But if you've got some things that you want to talk about, I may just do an open Q&A tomorrow, but I cannot let one of the most important days of the year go by without popping in and saying hi to our fellow travel professionals and celebrating you. So I will absolutely, I don't know what time, probably be the same time because I kind of like this hour. I'll probably have my setup setup all set up. My camera came in from Amazon today. My battery came in, so I should be on my computer and all of that. But, it's been a pleasure talking with you all today. I look forward to talking to you for sure next week and possibly tomorrow. Again, if you want to get some more information about agency fees, your worth in the travel business, maybe you want to know the detailed steps on how to attract the right client, just say me in the comments and someone on my team will reach out to you. All right. It's been a pleasure. I hope you have a great Wednesday evening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. If you like this episode, then share it. Sharing is caring, and don't keep it to yourself. Spread the word. Another way to support this channel is to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, or leave us a message. Join us inside of our free Facebook group, the Travel Boss Group. Better yet, if you think you need help, schedule your free travel business launch diagnostic call. Links are mentioned below. This has been Sunday Gardner, your online travel boss. See you again on the next episode of Online Travel Boss TV.